Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast on this fantastic Thursday morning. At least it is in Central Florida. I know y'all have some bad weather coming through Mississippi and into Alabama today. So be safe, be careful, and take care of yourself throughout all of that. We have today the Ole Miss Alabama baseball series is supposed to, the first pitch should be tonight, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm expecting probably a doubleheader tomorrow because tomorrow is supposed to be decent. It's supposed to rain again Saturday and Sunday. So it may be a situation where you can only get two in. But we'll see how it plays out over the course of the week. The weathermen have been known to be wrong, and they are consistently giving their opinion that something will happen then it really doesn't. So we'll have to see this weekend how it goes. My name is Stephen Willis. I am your host on this magical mystery journey that we call the POMcast. POMcast stands for Positively Ole Miss Cast, just in case you need to know that information. Positively Ole Miss. Now, we are in partnership with the Rebel Walk. They do a fantastic job covering all aspects of Ole Miss sports. If you haven't seen it, go check it out at therebelwalk.com. They're also nice enough to put my stuff on there, and I appreciate it greatly. Yesterday, we had the highlights of the press conference on first day of spring. We did post-game from the UCA game, video of Mike Bianco to go with the Lane Kiffin, Jacquez Jones, and Matt Corral video from the day before. Tomorrow we'll have quick hitting highlights like that again, so you can expect that again. If there's a game tonight, we'll have also the video of the post game from it. We'll put that up, talking about what's going on. The first starter of the game would be the Thursday night this week, but the Friday starter will be Gunnar Hoagland, and Saturday will be Doug Nikhazy. They're switched them up. They're going to go right, left, right. Chris Muller told you about that last weekend and why that was important to do. But this is kind of a hump day. This is kind of an in-between day where there's some things going on, but not a whole bunch. And thankfully, there's not really been news breaking, so you can get dead time from time to time. That's the reason we keep this podcast, by the way, at 30 minutes, by the way. Whenever you have to talk about Ole Miss for one subject 5 days a week for over that period of time, over 30 minutes, you run out of stuff to talk about. And you have to go off into other things just to fill airtime. And it just allows us to tell you exactly what's going on. You know, for instance, the main news today is the women's NIT game in Memphis versus Northern Iowa is tomorrow. Tickets are on sale. If you haven't gotten tickets, get them. They're available. And go support the Lady Rebs, as you know, they're 2 wins away from really our first national basketball tournament victory. NCAA or NIT. That it'll be our first trophy that gets to fill our trophy case in men's or women's basketball. So support the Lady Rebs. I believe on the other side of the bracket is Rice and somebody else. I forgot the other one. But, I mean, I think Ole Miss is the last Power 5 team remaining. So, it could be good with Shakira Alston and everything. They should be a favorite in the game, and they play really great defense. They play hard. So that might be worth a good watch if you have it. I know that if you paid for a month of Flow Sports for the Ole Miss baseball series, you were able to get the first game or so of the women's NIT, but you can catch it on Flow Hoops as well. I need to look it up, but I'm kind of curious of whether the games are going to be at Collierville High now that they're at the national semifinal part of the tournament. I need to look that up because, I mean, that going from the round of 32, 16 and 8 at Collierville High School was interesting. I think, yes, that's the way I'll put it. It was interesting. And between that going on with the women's NIT and what went on with the NCAA and everything, there's issues that need to be worked out as a part of basic equity between the two sports. If you're gonna host them both, you need to do both the same way. And if you want to overly do one, you're gonna have to go above and beyond for the other one, because as you can see, the public relations nightmare that comes from not doing that is large. And I mean, they're even talking about it on Capitol Hill today. And this NCAA equity argument really is bleeding over into the mainstream. And if they're not careful to get this done right, it's going to spiral out of their control. Period. There's no other real way to look at it but that one. But we'll get into the show in just a second. But first, I want to tell you can follow the show at The Rebel Walk or at The Stephen Willis. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. You can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the bell to get notifications when we start streaming. You'll always know. You'll get a little notification. It's like, oh, that's about basketball. That's about baseball. And you'll know whether or not you need to tune in. It's a good way to keep you informed. And we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Also, Willis Digital Media is on YouTube at Willis Digital Media and on Twitch at Willis Digital Media. You can catch both of those there. Basically, what we're going to use those two channels for, we're going to keep the Ole Miss stuff here, so you don't have to worry about getting stuff you don't want. But if you're interested in more, that is the place to go. We're going to have the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on there, so it's going to be a little bit of, a little bit of stuff coming to one place. We're going to aggregate it a little bit. We're going to start doing theme park reviews and TV reviews and things like that. We're going to try and get some people to join us down that road. But, basically it's going to be positively every man. So it's going to be stuff that you're interested in. We're not going to do hunting because it's not really hunting people. I mean, that would be like me talking basket weaving. Sorry, it's been a very busy morning, as you can imagine. But it's just another way to listen to different type of content. Same type, similar format to what we're doing here. The POMcast is going to be our flagship show. It's always going to be our flagship show. But we're trying to get other podcasts to come onto the brand, Eventually, we're going to try and get the flagship football show over here to where it can be broadcast. It might be a nightly show or once a week. And we're thinking about bringing in as well. Now, they'll be available in different locations now. You probably won't be able to get the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast at the Rebel Walk. I understand that. So that's the reason this new channel was formed. For what we're doing, a place that can be a catch-all for everything. So if you like a little bit more than Ole Miss coverage, we are there. You can catch us on audio at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're also on smaller podcatchers. But It'd take forever to name them otherwise. My wife is the one that figured out how to basically save the podcast. So all podcast saving mojo that you have might need to be directed towards my wife because she was the one that was able to save it. So as we move on today, spring practice is underway. We had one practice already, and that practice, it's simple helmets and shoulder pads, simple thing. But it was a kickstart. It was our first spring practice we had since 2019. The last person that led spring practice at Ole Miss was Matt Luke. So this happening at all is kind of, I don't know, something to celebrate. And if you celebrate something like that, it's really, I'm just really glad to do this. This might be a high-level Grove Bowl that we sign up for, that we get. This might be a highly attended one. I don't know. I mean, in the state of Florida, by April 4th, everybody 16 and up is supposed to be able to get vaccines. So, I mean, this thing is progressing at a rapid rate. I mean, like everything, it's like, this happens and the next one's a little easier and the next one's a little easier and the next one's a little easier, So it's, once this has gotten going, and you see that we're kind of wanting to get back to normal. So this spring practice starting now is a lead up to what could be a fantastic event. The Grove Bowl weekend is mixed with LSU this year, and I believe Auburn in softball. So you can come up and see major games. I think it's a primetime Grove Bowl, baseball, and then the Grove Bowl. So it's all set up to be very cathartic for the Ole Miss fan base. The first time to really get back into it. And, you can see at Swayze how they're handling that. So there's no reason to assume that they're going to cap anything dealing with attendance for the Grove Bowl. Now, it's never been a greatly attended event. Now, I'm not saying that it is. But this year could be a very special thing. With it being marketed with, like, back to normal, back to Ole Miss football. Because Ole Miss football is the straw that stirs the drink when it comes to Ole Miss sports. It always has, it always will be. But, as we look at it, as we see it, and there's feelings that are basically going through our bodies right now, of just relief and kind of getting back to normal. And, I've already made the decision. I'm 2 weeks away from my last vaccine, and then I'm 2 weeks away from it being fully effective. At that point, I'm back to normal. No matter what anybody else is doing, I'm back to normal at that point. And I think, judging by what's going on around, that's kind of what we're seeing from everybody. It's like, I'm back to normal, whether or not they had the vaccine. Now, there are some people out there that are willing to, put people at risk and just not do what they're told. There's always that from kindergarten all the way up to 80 years old. You can't tell some people some things. And, for the last year, I've been a good soldier. I've done what I needed to do. So I'm not going to put anybody at risk. Understand that. I'm a homebody, basically. And if you require a mask, I'm going to wear a mask. I'm not that type of person. But after I get the vaccine, me and my family will feel safe enough to go to a restaurant. Part of us moving down here was to go to Epcot on a Wednesday and eat at the Mexican Pavilion. That's what we're going to do. That's getting back to normal for me. Now, for younger kids, as far as college age kids, and I mean younger kids to me, they're going to be okay. They've been okay for a while. We figured out they were going to be all right for a while now. So now they get a little bit of a release too, and you can see it going through spring break in South Florida right now, and Miami Beach, and people are just losing their mind over that. So enjoy spring practice. Enjoy what it means. That's what I'm saying to you. It's more than just a spring practice. It's a symbol of a return to normalcy, to a return to the way things were. It was 2 years ago the last time we saw one of these. It went away last year, just very nonchalant, but it went away. So enjoy this. And also realize that spring practice is not for the totality of the 11. Spring practice is for the sum of the parts. You want your cornerback to get a little better. You want the other cornerback to get a little bit. You know, as much of a gain as you can get individually will help the 11 whenever the 11 comes together in the fall. So understand, when you go to the Grove Bowl, it's not going to look like a finished product. You're not going to be able to judge it that way. You need to look at players. You want certain players to make jumps. You can see if certain players are making jumps. That's how you look at spring practice. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ole Miss's trip to Alabama and why tonight might be in jeopardy. But maybe that's not all a bad thing. Who knows? Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast on this Thursday morning. It's a nice Thursday morning down here at the Palatial Central Florida studios. And I want to thank all of y'all for spending your time joining us. Again, you can catch us at the Rebel Walk. They've done a nice thing with us to put our videos up, and even stuff that doesn't necessarily get produced by the Rebel Walk. It's pretty cool. Go over there and check it out, and Evie and everybody will take care of you. Now, went over spring practice just a few minutes ago. How big it was, basically as a big picture thing, not necessarily, spring practice, but a big picture. Oh my goodness, this is getting back to normal type of thing. Baseball is actually kind of what started that. If you saw the game Saturday in Swayze, there was 8,000 or 9,000 people in the stadium, and that's when you realize that, okay, this is kind of happening. This is over. This is really cool. And Ole Miss obviously swept Auburn. They're 17-4 currently, and they're set up to go to Alabama. Now, Alabama's ace is not really in right now. He's not expected to pitch either Friday or Saturday. Basically, he's out this weekend. We don't really know the extent of his injury, but the point is he's probably not going to show up against Ole Miss. So Ole Miss is going to trot out Gunnar Hoagland, and they're going to trot out Doug Nikhazy. And if Ole Miss has a positive first 6 or 7 innings, you're going to be ahead more times than not with those two on the hill. They've split up. They moved Nikhazy from the first start, SEC, ace, whatever you want to call it, into the second spot because him and Hoagland are viewed similarly, but the way it was set up is Nikhazy would come in and pitch, and then Hunter and Diamond would, or Hoagland and Diamond would come in and pitch, and they were kind of similar. And then you have the same person calling the pitches, but the pitches would look a little bit, and then after a while, they were getting to the, I'm gonna say sophomore. I mean, I know he's probably a freshman officially. I don't know exactly how to do that, but he's basically a COVID freshman. How about that? But it affects the way it looks to everybody whenever he's pitching, and eventually you catch up. You're going to time it up. So seeing the same guy over 18 innings, you're eventually going to get to him. And this is a way to break that up, bringing Doug Nikhazy in the lineup, seeing that lefty. He throws it a little different. Everything looks a little bit different. It messes with the eyes. It doesn't allow hitters to get into a rhythm. So stuff like that is why he is moving to that position. The bullpen, with him coming back and Max Chaffee coming back, is going to be at a higher level than it's been recently. It's Drew McDaniel going to midweek. I know he didn't pitch this weekend, but he pitched last Saturday. So he'll be available this weekend for basically long relief as well. So that's going to help out the bullpen and the pitching staff as a whole. And, I was talking the other day that, Gorilla Ball is kind of making a comeback with these guys. I mean, that's how they kind of play. And it makes sense that Mike Bianco would be comfortable with that because that's the style of baseball he grew up with. That is the LSU Skip Bertman. And this team has been built kind of in their image. And if you look at them top to bottom, they're dangerous. There's a bunch of guys that can hit the ball out of the park. And there's just not really any easy outs, especially now with Peyton Chatagnier back. And it's just everybody needs to get excited about what's going on with the baseball program. I mean, it just means a lot to them. And this is a team that is, it could be national championship quality. It could be. Now, they could get bounced in the regional. I mean, once you have a one-game situation, anything can happen. But, I mean, this team has the talent to go a long way. Now, sometimes they struggle at the plate. Sometimes they struggle, they'll have a situation where you need a 1-0 win. I understand that. But whenever their bat's going with this pitching staff, that's trouble, period. I mean, Auburn tried to come back and hit with them the last couple innings Sunday. And even then, I think it was 14-0. Then Auburn had their 8 or 9 run 8th. I think 9 run 8th. And they cut it to 5. Then Ole Miss immediately added more runs to it and ended up winning the game 19-11. So when they're feeling good as the weather warms up with a hitting team, and they've always been this way. They've struggled generally in cold weather. But as the weather warms up, so does their bats. And they always throw the ball very well from the mound, and I mean, it could be a lot of fun. And I was telling my uncle, I guess, the other day, that Mike Bianco he's kind of the new Ron Polk. He's been around, so long that his influence is more over Mississippi baseball than anybody else. Mississippi State, they started the plan, made the College World Series back in the 80s when they had Palmeiro and Will Clark. But recently, they've been kind of scattershot. They had 4 coaches in 4 years, so there's not really been any continuity. So there's no real way to build it back. I mean, John Cohen, I guess, being there during all of this could mean something, but, likely not. He's probably just an athletic director. The people coming on campus don't even know that he was a baseball coach. But it's a real interesting dynamic. I mean, Ole Miss finally has a team where you can play a little bit of guerrilla ball, as much as can be had in the BB Core era. But a reasonable facsimile of it. Because if nobody can do it, if you can do it a little bit more, it's basically like it was, because you're at an advantage that they do not have and that they cannot do. But Tim Elko and those guys, it's going to be real interesting to see. Now, this series is really huge. Ole Miss needs to get 2 games. And honestly, they probably, if they play a doubleheader tomorrow and get both of those games, they should hope for a washout on the next one. 5-0, and just start the first 2 games 5-0. I mean, they can win it and go 6-0, but always a good thing, because this weekend is going to be weird. It's supposed to be bad weather all over the Deep South today. There's supposed to be rain on Saturday. There's supposed to be rain on Sunday. Doubleheader probably is going to be played excuse me, on Friday. Anyway, I'm going to give you a little bit of time back because I am that kind of a nice guy. Until tomorrow, as always, hotty toddy.